After that 2-2 draw against Tottenham Hotspur, all eyes have turned to one man, Rúben Amorim. The Portuguese tactician, despite avoiding defeat, found himself at the center of controversy as his substitutions became a major talking point. Many fans and pundits felt those changes not only failed to bring the expected impact, but even backfired in the closing stages. So, the big question is, did Amorim really make a tactical blunder? Was it a lack of flexibility? A touch of inexperience? Or perhaps a calculated risk with a deeper purpose that most of us just couldn't see? In today's analysis, let's rewind those 90 minutes at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and take a closer look at what Rúben Amorim truly tried to achieve. Does he deserve the heavy criticism after leading Manchester United to a 5-match unbeaten run? It's worth noting United have now recorded back-to-back draws against Nottingham Forest and Spurs, both following the same frustrating pattern: a strong first half with the lead, only to lose control after the break and scrape just a single point. Yes, the unbeaten streak continues, but let's be honest, if they had managed the second half better, Amorim's men could have walked away with 6 points instead of 2, closing the gap on league leaders Arsenal. But football isn't played on ifs, as the saying goes. If words could change results, we'd fit the Eiffel Tower in a bottle. What matters is reality. United looked sharp and composed in the first half, but in the second 45 minutes, they simply couldn't maintain that intensity, allowing the momentum and the result to slip away. The criticism aimed at Rúben Amorim has only intensified after the recent draw, with many questioning both his substitutions and tactical choices that ultimately failed to deliver the desired result. At the City Ground, when Manchester United found themselves trailing 2-1, the Portuguese manager made a puzzling call withdrawing 2 defenders, Patrick Dorgu and Noussair Mazraoui, while leaving his attacking options untouched. Amorim later explained that the decision was tactical, intended to exploit the fullback's attacking potential to sustain pressure high up the pitch, a plan that, to be fair, paid off momentarily with Amad Diallo's equalizer. But fast forward to the clash against Tottenham Hotspur last Saturday, and things took a different turn. Amorim made 5 substitutions, and a late, unfortunate injury to Benjamin Šeško left United playing with 10 men for the final 10 minutes. None of the changes provided the spark he was hoping for. In stark contrast, Thomas Frank's adjustments completely shifted the momentum in Spurs' favor, turning the game on its head. From that point, all the fingers pointed straight at the 40-year-old coach. Manuel Ugarte looked lost, Šeško failed to make an impact before hobbling off injured, and both Lenny Yoro and Diogo Dalot struggled defensively. Only Mason Mount managed to put in a solid shift, adding a few moments of attacking intent. 2 games in a row, 2 identical stories, United take the lead, lose control, and Amorim substitutions come under heavy fire. For those who've followed football long enough, you know that when you're leading, changes are rarely about position-for-position swaps. It's often a matter of rhythm, sometimes 1 change early, 3 later, or vice versa, to manage the game's tempo and protect the lead. Yet Amorim stuck to a rigid pattern. The only significant tactical tweak came in the 58th minute, when Benjamin Šeško came on for Mazraoui, prompting Amad Diallo to drop into his familiar wingback role. 3 more changes followed around the 72nd minute, all like for like, mostly reactive rather than proactive. To make matters worse, Harry Maguire picked up a knock, and Casemiro's stamina dipped late on. The final substitution taking off Patrick Dorgu, who had been performing well, and replacing him with Dalot on his weaker left side, backfired completely. It destabilized United's structure, and with Šeško's injury soon after, they ended the game with 10 men. So here's the big debate. Was Amorim's approach simply inexperienced and naive, or was there a deeper tactical logic that most fans failed to recognize? To understand that, we need to look closely at each case, starting with Noussair Mazraoui, who, according to team reports, still wasn't fully fit after recovering from injury and could only manage around 50 to 60 minutes at best. When Tottenham Hotspur introduced the electric pace of Wilson Odobert, it became almost impossible for Noussair Mazraoui to keep up. That's why Amad Diallo had to drop deeper to provide extra defensive cover. As for Benjamin Šeško, he was meant to pin down Christian Romero and especially Mickey van de Ven, preventing Spurs' defensive duo from stepping too high and destabilizing United's structure. However, with Matheus Cunha struggling to hold up the ball against 2 or even 3 defenders, United's long passes from Senne Lammens often lacked a reliable target. The young striker, wearing number 30, looked short on confidence after weeks of public criticism, hesitant in his decision-making and lacking that killer instinct in front of goal. His miss in the 86th minute summed up his night, though credit must go to Mickey van de Ven, whose blistering recovery pace and perfectly timed sliding tackle denied Šeško a certain goal. It was almost a carbon copy of his heroic clearance in the Europa League final just 5 months ago. Unfortunately, the moment also led to Šeško's knee injury, leaving Amorim with yet another headache. After the game, the Portuguese coach shared his thoughts. "I'm more worried about his injury than his confidence," Amorim admitted. "Manchester United needs Šeško to become a better team. Nobody likes criticism, but it's part of the process. He's been struggling a bit, that's true, but what matters is how he reacts. I tell all my players, criticism isn't personal, it's just perspective. What people believe today might be wrong in 3 weeks. So as painful as it sounds, learn to live with it. We'll protect him, support him, and help him grow. He's working hard every day, and I believe he'll come back stronger." As for Harry Maguire's injury, it was simply unavoidable. Amorim had no real choice there. Meanwhile, Matheus Cunha was far from his best, so bringing on Mason Mount made sense, a move designed to add energy and creativity to the attack. Casemiro had also run out of steam, and Manuel Ugarte was sent in not because he was the perfect option, but because there was no one better available. And really, did fans want to see Jack Fletcher thrown into that situation and risk an even bigger disaster? Lastly, there's the much-debated substitution of Patrick Dorgu. Many question why Amorim took him off, but if you look closely, Dorgu had already been booked for a rash tackle on Jade Spence. Spurs were clearly targeting him, trying to provoke a second yellow. The manager, knowing the defender's temperament, made the safe call. One reckless challenge could have left United with 10 men again, and Amorim wasn't willing to take that risk. In reality, every substitution he made had its logic. No coach intentionally weakens his team when holding a lead. Just a week earlier, Amorim had been criticized for the opposite reason, for being too cautious and using only 2 substitutions in the draw against Nottingham Forest, with fans demanding he should have gone all out for the win. That's the paradox of football. When you don't change enough, you're called passive. When you change too much, you're called reckless. But one thing's certain, Rúben Amorim is still learning, still adapting to the Premier League's relentless demands, and whether you love or doubt him, his United side continues to show a fighting spirit that's hard to ignore. At this point, it's easy to find angry comments questioning why Rúben Amorim used all 5 substitutions, only for Manchester United to finish the match with 10 men after Šeško's injury. But here's the reality. 2 out of those 5 changes were due to fitness issues. That means only 3 were truly tactical. And if we're being honest, just take a look at United's bench that night. Who else could he really have turned to? Would you dare to throw in youngsters like Aiden Heaven or Jack Fletcher in such a tense away match? Or maybe bring on Joshua Zirkzee, who had already struggled badly against Brighton, to replace Šeško? In midfield, Manuel Ugarte was literally the only option available after Kobbie Mainoo picked up an injury. Amorim's hands were tied. That's football on another day. If one of those 5 substitutes had scored or changed the game, Amorim would have been hailed as a tactical genius. Just look at Thomas Frank. His substitutions, Mathis Tel and Wilson Odobert, turned the match around, earning him praise for being bold and decisive. Yes, United's 2-2 draw at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was disappointing. Once again, they lost control after leading, needing a late equalizer from Matthijs de Ligt just to rescue a point. But the bigger picture? This is no longer a fragile United. This is a team that fights, that refuses to crumble when things go wrong. That's progress. After the match, Amorim admitted with visible frustration, "We felt like we could have taken all 3 points, but then Harry had to go off, Casemiro too, and suddenly we conceded twice. Still, we fought back, we scored, and we left with a point. When you can't win, at least don't lose. And we did that again today. But if you watched closely, you'd know we still have a lot to improve as a team. Because today should have been our day to win. It's an honest reflection from a coach who knows his side isn't perfect, but also one who's slowly building a new mentality at Old Trafford. So yes, there's still work to do. There's still a long road ahead. But United's spirit, Resilience and never-say-die attitude, that's something they've been missing for years. Football, after all, is unpredictable. It's cruel, emotional, and utterly captivating. That's why we love it. No one, not the fans, not even Amorim himself wants to see United drop points, but when you look at this squad, maybe we should offer him some understanding. He needs time. He needs another transfer window. And until then, he's got to fix the small things before dreaming of big ones like titles or a top 4 finish. But what about you? What did you make of the way these two teams performed tonight? Do you think they'll be able to rediscover their own identity and build something stronger as the season goes on?